Enforcement Administration. Seeing their work from a young age first sparked her interest in pursuing law and a commitment to public service. Judge Douglas serves as magistrate for the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Louisiana, first appointed to this role in 2019, and over the past 3 years, all 111 reports and recommendations she has authored have been adopted in whole or part by the District Court.
Manchin says an energy package needs to support the production of fossil fuels as well as renewable energies. Manchin has scheduled 2 more meetings next week with the bipartisan group to hash out a compromise energy bill. Folks, we have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, so continue watching the video. The White House has just confirmed that state governments have turned down billions of dollars in crisis relief money. Many lawmakers and economists are urging the unused money be put towards a new round of stimulus checks. Now, since the start of the crisis, many people have fallen behind their rent payments, and while the economy has improved since 2020, many people's personal financial situations have not. That means a lot of people still owe the landlords money and are at risk of being evicted until those debts are settled up. Now, the good news is that there's been a lot of money, with roughly $46 billion worth, available to struggling tenants in the form of federal rental assistance. That money was approved as part of the last 2 stimulus bills that were signed to law. Not only that, folks, but many states are still being offered additional rent relief funds. And what this means is that it doesn't mean they're accepting the money with open arms. Now, the Arkansas governor announced that the state would not be accepting most of the $146 million in rental assistance funds being offered to it. The reason boils down to the state's low employment rate and generally strong economy. Arkansas is not the first state to say no to rent relief. Recently, Nebraska rejected a round of aid as well. It's not just the strong state economy that prompted Arkansas to say no to that aid. Governor Hutchinson pointed to the fact that the state has rental assistance programs that were in place prior to the crisis for the purpose of promoting housing stability among residents. As such, he feels that taking federal funds isn't necessary. On the other hand, that move can be seen as a good thing. The governor could have said yes to that money, but instead acknowledges that the state isn't necessarily a needy recipient of it. So while many people have not recovered from the blow to the crisis, many are still struggling today, especially in the wake of higher living and gas costs. And so it's easy to see how a round of federal funding might help ease certain burdens for cash-strapped households with little to no money. With President Biden taking office, he found an ally in touting an agenda full of huge social investments. Despite President Biden and Sanders' pushes, those proposed social spending plans are still being negotiated on. Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have emerged as the main roadblocks, and Bernie Sanders has frequently sparred with Manchin. In an interview, Bernie Sanders again criticized Manchin and his role in stalling the Build Back Better. It's happening, everybody. Nancy Pelosi says that lawmakers are negotiating on how much the next stimulus bill will be worth. But GOP lawmakers would like to see big changes made to the bill before it finally is signed into law. Now, many of you guys can receive a fourth stimulus check, so continue watching this video. Democrats are pushing back on Nancy Pelosi's decision to reject the gas tax holiday, urging party leaders to reconsider a proposal as lawmakers take a beating over sky-high gas prices. The grumbling is especially pronounced among lawmakers facing tough re-election contests in November and who are eager to bring home a policy they say would provide tangible and immediate savings for people. Now, some Democratic representatives say that they're focused on things that would be helpful and are longer term, and focused on the short term as well. Now, there's no exact plan to deal with high gas prices, but suspending the federal gas tax, which is currently 18.4 cents per gallon, would be an efficient and effective way to lower costs quickly. One Democratic representative is another supporter of the gas tax holiday. They have echoed that similar concerns, knowing the proposal is the most immediate way that they can deliver some much-needed relief. According to the Energy Information Administration, President Biden and Democratic leaders are scrambling for ways to rein in gas prices, as the average price per gallon sits well above $4. Pelosi has been considering the idea of a gas tax holiday. However, she has expressed her concerns with her colleagues. Pelosi acknowledged that some interest among Democrats for the tax holiday, but rejected the idea as both ineffective and too expensive. Democratic leaders are charging ahead with a different proposal, championed by Senator Maria Cantwell and Representative Frank. They said that would empower state and federal officials to
Thank you, Mayor Hill. Thanks. This is the Lordstown Lorraine fight. Congressman Catherine has been making this fight longer than damn near anybody. Marcy is, I believe, now the longest serving woman in the history of the United States. Marcy, I'm going to talk about this for a second after listening to Jimmy Hart, what he said. I want to talk about what Marcy did and what we did together on to fight some of the globalization that's done such damage to this community. I'll get to that in a second. Congressman Ryan, good to see you. I look forward. I never.
Really hit a bottom or a floor. So what we said you needed for the retail sector to see a sustained rally was inventories clean, exiting the third quarter. We're back to equilibrium as we moved into holiday. And then secondarily, you needed to get clarification that June and July, potentially it was the shift towards travel and leisure. It was also the peak of gasoline prices, as well as some of this excess inventory, that a lot of this was from the supply chain constraints in the front half of the year. So if we had clarification that August and September and moving forward, looking backward, June and July was the bottom, that to me at valuation levels like we're seeing, look, you have a Macy's rallying today, it's off of 3 times EBITDA levels. So some of these retailers that I cover, 200 to 300 basis points valuations below where they were trading pre-pandemic. And the situation, if the inventory is cleaned up into holiday, could actually be clean again.
But then, Matt, on the outlook side of things, they lowered their outlook for the rest of the year. And the reasons they cited in the release is the risk, this is a direct quote, it sees in the continued deterioration of consumer discretionary spending in some of its categories and the level of inventory within the industry, as well as risks associated with a more pronounced macro downturn. So that doesn't really sound like peak inflation to me. That doesn't sound like, an inventory base that's really been completely worked through.
It's an excellent point, because when you break down Macy's sales today, to me the key was in relevant categories, occasion-based, return to work, return to occasion. Those categories were up 8%.
On a day back and forth. Thanks for your service to the nation already and working with USDA. But I have some concerns on this. I'm just trying to figure out where this is going. We've had the USTR here in this room multiple times. We've had Secretary Raimondo be able to talk about trade negotiations and what's happening on the commerce side. And the very clear message that we've heard over and over again is we're not going to do trade deals. The president has instructed us we're not going to do trade deals. Now, the first year, we were all asking questions about what are we going to do with the UK? What are we going to do in Asia? Where are we expanding to? Every ag producer in my state, and I have a lot in my state of Oklahoma, all asked me the same question. Well, 2 questions. When's it going to rain next? That's the first one. The second one is always, what's the new trade agreement that we've got working? What new country? We're overly dependent on China for soybeans. We're overly dependent on certain countries. What new countries are we developing trade agreements with? And I hear from the Biden administration, we're not going to. We're kind of working on the edges and tweaking a few things. So my biggest question for you is, what new trade agreements are we going to organize? And for you, you've worked on